Hello, everyone. This is William del Pilar, and this is Fired Up California, where we go sometimes deep into the weeds on some of the topics. Tonight, I want to say we're going to have a little bit of fun. Not going too deep, but we're going to review the final two California governor debates that happened a few days ago. The CNN debate, which was a cluster bleep, and the NBC one, which I view as arguably, well, I say arguably to be polite. To me, it was hands down the best debate. We got most of the policy questions answered. And dear God, you better be scared if Tom Steyer gets elected. That is, I always tell my friends, billionaires and politicians at the high government level, like senators and presidents and cabinet members, they're all narcissistic. They all have a little bit of crazy in them because it takes that type of mentality to achieve that echelon of power. And I'll be honest, this Tom Steyer cat, woo, talk about crazy. This guy's all crazy talk. We're going to talk about him, Katie Porter, almost breaking down. And I'll be honest, I felt bad for her in that moment. We talk about Chad Bianco, who I don't like, who I will not vote for in the primary. I will hold my nose and vote for him in the general if he makes it. But the man was pretty damn good the final two debates. You got to give the sheriff his due. And I'm looking forward to one discussion with the beautiful Ms. Annette Ross to hear her comment from a mom's perspective as I give her the male comment. Or she may just agree with me. So we're going to get down and dirty into the debate. So before we get into all this, and I bring in the beautiful Miss Annette Ross, do not forget, you're probably listening to this on YouTube or Rumble. On YouTube, you can follow us under Grumblings Media Politics. Grumblings Media Politics. If you're watching this, please like and share it. That's how our little venture here will grow. If you're on Rumble, you can follow us via Grumblings Media. And with that, my friends, let's get down to it and let us bring on the beautiful Miss Annette Ross. Happy Mother's Day, little woman.
Thank you, and happy Mother's Day to all the mothers.
What about the fathers who identify as mothers?
I mean, I it is it's the work of a lifetime, honestly. So, I
Like a politician, dodge the question.
no, I mean, well, I'm not gonna say any disparaging things on Mother's Day, about that, so well, I'm not being political.
All righty. All right. Well, happy Mother's Day. I'm sure your
Thank you very
kids
much.
called and what Bill do for you?
Well, the girls all got me beautiful cards and flowers. And I'm not Bill's mother. It's not that he doesn't appreciate my mothering,
You're the
but
mother of his children,
I am the mother of his children. I'm the mother of his children.
or
He
so
did
we
give me a beautiful.
assume.
He got yes, at that without question. He did give me a beautiful card. I feel appreciated by him every day, actually. He's great about that.
That's good to hear. All right, let's get into it. So tonight, Annette, I'm just going to show you a series of clips. I'm going to ask you some questions. I'll give you
Yep.
my take, and the whole point for the audience is to give a little bit of the every person, which is what we are, our takes on this. But we've also served. We've also been around politicians, and we are
Yes.
more grassroots. At least I am. I'm not sure how you consider yourself, but I view myself more of a grassroots. So I'll give some honest takes on this, and we're just looking to maybe shed a few nuggets you may not have heard with the previous discussions, which is full of hate, and rightfully so. Democrats hate Republicans, Republicans hate Democrats. We hate Democrats because we see the results of their policies. They hate Republicans because we're not socialists and communists. That's how today's politics work. And it's sad to say, but that's true. And again, it's the type of take you'll get from us. We're not going to sugarcoat it politeness. At least I will not. And let's start with the first take here. This first one here is the word. This was the NBC debate,
The most
and
recent one?
yes, the final one. And oh, and for the big closing for the debate, I gathered information on all the debates and
Mhm.
saw how they were being ranked overall, and we'll talk about that at the end. So this video here is about companies leaving California.
Can I can I comment on the debates in general?
Oh,
This
yeah,
was
yeah, yeah,
this
this is a
was
bit
by
free for
far my favorite debate, and also I just wanted to add that one of the reasons was through each of these debates, I feel like we really got to know who these candidates are over time. It sort of made me think that having multiple debates is a good idea. They started to really show their personalities for who they really
True,
are.
true. The downside is you lose audience share every debate.
Oh.
So it's an oxymoron. I don't know if oxymoron is the right word, but it's a double-edged sword because you are
Mhm.
absolutely correct. You get to see the real me, the real
Yes.
personality of the candidates start to come out. They become a little bit more polished. They know what their answers are. They start taking more and more jabs at one another. And you also see how stupid some are. The more comfortable they get, the more stupid their comments come through. Tom Steyer and Javier Becerra are oh god, they're just two nightmares. All right, here's the first one leaving California.
Okay.
Let's talk about companies leaving California. So companies are
Oh, before we start, I had just got the comment on Enrique with the Spanish accent. Let me tell you something, people, about Telemundo and Univision. Their whole upper echelon is all they're whiter than me. They got more Spaniard blood than you'll ever find in any white country at the KKK meeting. You'll find them. And then, so what do they do? They throw out Enrique with a thick Spanish accent. So you know he's Latino. Because I tell you what, you go to that studio, everyone in there speaking perfect English. But so Telemundo really played it up with this bum. You know, I'm not a fan of Telemundo or Univision. They are bastions of progressivism. They
Mm.
just as black activists who have made it to the top through donors, through PACs. Same thing with these Latinos over here. I'm not a big fan at all. The only thing I like about those Latino stations is they got some beautiful women in studio. That's about it. All right, let's get back to it. This is on businesses leave, and yes, I do mean all of that. I'm not a fan. Businesses leaving California.
moving their headquarters out of California, SpaceX, Tesla, Oracle, Hewlett Packard, so many companies. Those are just a few of the corporations that are going to more tax-friendly states. My question to all of you is, how can you reduce the state's high unemployment rate when so many employers are leaving the state? Mr. Hilton, Mr. Steyer.
So California remains the best place to start a business and build a business, but it's also the most expensive.
It's not true.
It's the most expensive.
It's rated
place.
50th out of 50
It is
states
the most
by
expensive
Chief
place to do
Executive
business.
Magazine.
And the
50th out of
person
50.
on this stage who is going after those costs and driving them down for working Californians is me. And I'm doing it by going after the special interest corporations who are driving up our costs. I'm going after electric costs that are driven by the electric monopolies. I'm going after gas costs that are driven by the oil companies. I'm going after healthcare costs. I'm for single payer. And I'm going after housing costs. What's driving people out of California is the cost of operating here. And I'm talking about it in terms of people, but it absolutely is the same thing in terms of the companies that employ those people and have to pay them to live here. You can tell I'm doing this because the special interests are spending tens of millions of dollars to stop me. But I'm the person on this stage who's willing to change California and go after the
Thank you,
corporate.
Mr.
All
Steyer.
right, 3 points I wanna draw your attention to and get your thought process on this, Annette. Let me,
Mhm.
1, California is the best place to still build a business. 100% false, 100% not true. Looks like there we go. 100% not true. 2, he didn't say not one he just bloviated, if that's the right word, said nothing. I'm going after, I'm going after. Those are just talking points we've heard for 10 years. Point 3, Steve Hilton said it best. 50 CEOs in the survey said it's the worst state to start a business. I innately
Yeah.
learned this having my own business here. And then when I started reading up on studies, we were one of the worst businesses. When they raised the minimum wage, I I just adjusted. I didn't. just sat there and gave more hours to the college kids working for us, which they were kind of happy. You know, so everything Steyer said to me was just hot air, including the big lie. It's the best place to start this. Your thoughts?
I totally agree with you. But obviously, if we want to win, I think we're gonna need to get some independent votes. We're gonna need to get maybe even some Democrats who come to our side. And I think what gets confusing for people who are listening to these debates and are listening to him, maybe they're telling them what he's telling them what they want to hear. And sometimes that's very noisy and staticky. And they think I still need to go with the Democrat, even though that's why we're in this situation. So that seems like a nonsensical solution to me. But then see,
That's a very fair point because it's a primary. So
yeah,
they're trying to sway the progressive vote. And that means, as you said, not telling them the truth, kind of telling them, I'm your guy. I, Tom Steyer, am the poor man billionaire.
but he wasn't.
Final comments.
He went into about a single payer healthcare system. I mean, what was he really talking about in terms of making it more attractive for businesses to stay? It was there really a solution in there, or
No,
maybe
no, he said
I-
that's my point. He said
yeah,
nothing. Let's keep moving.
yeah.
that are
Thank you,
driving
Mr.
up the
Steyer.
costs for
Mr.
working
Steyer,
people.
your time is up. Mr. Bianco.
As long as we have the same policies that we've had for the last 2 decades, more and more businesses are going to leave. Of course, California, of course, is the greatest state in the world. But the taxes here, the regulations here are what are causing people to leave. Yes, we want to live here. We just can't. We want to own a business here. We just can't. So the people that are here on this stage are going to tell you everything you want to hear. They've been telling you that every time they want to get elected, and nothing ever changes. They are not going to deliver anything because it is their policies driving this up. California, the most business friendly in the state, because we will no longer punish businesses for being in California. We will remove all of the regulations, the regulatory environment that increases cost of business, the PAGA lawsuits that are absolutely destroying every single business simply to raise more money for the state of California because we have a spending problem, not a money
Thank you,
problem.
Mr. Bianco.
All right. I thought Bianco was brilliant. He stated what the problem was or is and what the solution is. And I think he's also talking to Democrats. I think there are a lot of Democrats who are looking at what's happened and they're going, how much longer can I stick it out? Those are the Democrats and independents he's talking about. And I thought he was brilliant. And you know where I stand with Mr. Bianco.
I do, but you know what? He made it really crystal clear. See, he cut through all of the words that don't mean anything, and he explained why it isn't working and why it hasn't worked because of the regulations. He just cut to the chase. So I think he was so good at his messaging that night.
And what did he look like? He looked like a man's man out there, authoritative.
He
You like
did.
my Marlboro mustache? You like my chest burgeoning out from the suit top?
He's
He looked like that construction worker that had to go to the business meeting.
yeah.
And believe it or not, I'm that sways a lot of women too. Good looking guy. He's a man that's speaking with authoritative. People want that's what they see as part of leadership. And y'all may be thinking, that's not right, William. That's gender. That's life. That's human nature. That's how some people. And you look at him, yeah, that's who I'm liking. So I thought he was great. And again, I am not you got to give the man his due there.
Mr. Becerra, you're up next.
Let me give a specific example.
Then
Right
we go
now-
to Wimpy. I'll pay you back Tuesday.
How Hollywood is in dire condition because every place in the world wants to have their own Hollywood. We must fight to keep Hollywood here in Southern California because it creates so many great paying jobs. And so I will work with Hollywood. I will work with the industry. I will work with the legislature to make sure we fight back against those who are trying to steal our industry away from us. And that means whether it's the tax credit or making sure we graduate the next generation of workers who can work in the entertainment industry, we will make it so attractive that they will not want to leave. But we have to make sure sure we're graduating the workforce for these industries to locate here. We have to create more public-private partnerships. So it's not just that private business that does it on its own, but it knows it's got a government that wants to work with it so they can establish their business here. And we want to make communities livable, where the workforce that will come can know they can buy a house and they can afford to live here. If we do all those things, we'll attract business. And then what we have to do is balance our budget. And as someone who has had to balance a budget bigger than the state of California's budget, I will do that.
Thank you, Mr.
I got news for you, Professor Xavier. You've never balanced a budget. You keep saying that, but you actually haven't. Two, the example sickens me because Hollywood gets. See, I can't give a fair answer because I know I understand. I've been in the weeds in researching this. Hollywood gets some of the biggest tax breaks out of anybody, and we have to foot. They get the tax breaks, so where's those taxes come out of? We have to foot that bill, and they're still leaving. And what's most vicious about and most disgusting about that example, I'll never forget the restaurant owner, the bar restaurant owner, who was forced to shut down, and right next to her is a Hollywood production. They're filming something, open area, people all over the place. They're all working. And right within 5 feet of them, she is shut down. And that Hollywood is an elitist industry. So to me, that was his worst example. I don't think that helped or hurt him, but I think it did nothing to separate him from the pack using that as an example. Again, I don't know where I'm coming from because I'm in the research this. I know how it works, but somebody who has no clue, they may like it, but I don't think so. I think these people are like, well, what about my industry? I don't care about these damn actors who earn millions of dollars, because surveys have come out, and that's how people are viewing Hollywood, because they don't think Hollywood the grip, or the caterer. They think Hollywood the actor. So I thought it was just terrible all around. And then the rich elitists. Annette.
Well, I thought it was an interesting position to take, because later on, I think it's at the end of the debate, they ask each of them about Hollywood, and you got quick. They do the quick yes or no answer, but
Yeah.
I think his problem with that answer, honestly, was that he got convoluted and gave too much information. When he started to veer off track, he used Hollywood as an example, not a great example, sort of a poor example, and then he started talking about a bunch of other different things, and you're like, what? And that's when I just shut down.
It's having to follow greatness, which was Bianco's answer.
Just so
I'm being
concise.
serious.
Yes.
Exactly. He was on point, on the money. It was a tough act to follow. And look, when I see Javier, I think while he's on that stage, his wife is making love to a staff member. I just don't see a man. I see an imbecile.
That's terrible.
I see a duck with a C. He would be laughed at any barrio he would go into, at any bodega. We would laugh him out. Oh, look, there's Javier. Hey, Javier, you doing? He doesn't demand respect. He doesn't show authority. He is their lackey. And he had name recognition, which is why he's probably going to come out of the primary. All right, let's keep moving. Again, people, this is their anti companies from leaving. For those of you not aware, since 2018, under Gavin Newsom's reign, over 400 businesses, including major corporations, have left. You go back a few years before Gavin, Tesla, even Apple, they took one of their factories to Texas. Companies are leaving, which means jobs are leaving, which means the economy's going down.
Becerra, Ms. Porter.
Yeah, I mean, billionaire Tom Steyer says that California is the best place to do business, and I guess it was for him because he became a billionaire off it. But for the rest of California businesses, it's been a real struggle. He says he's the one doing it, but the truth is he's the one promising it. I've actually brought down costs like prescription drug costs by passing a law in Congress to give people their money back. I actually helped write a bill and testify for a bill that became law to crack down on credit card fees. If we want employers to be able to stay in this state and to add workers to this state, we have to make it affordable for workers to live here. Labor is one of the biggest costs that businesses face, and we have to pay higher wages because the cost of living goes up. And then
then wages go up. This is a terrible cycle. So bringing down the cost of housing, my policies for things like free childcare and a tuition-free UC-CSU degree will do exactly that. It will make it cheaper for people to live here and businesses.
Okay.
Let's talk
Okay, so
about
that
complete-
made no sense at the end. Free childcare, free school. That's not to mention, you guys didn't see here, but she's talked about more climate funding. So she makes absolutely no sense. Now, on a positive, her personal, what do they call the people who handle the face, the clothes, all that? Well, what's that person?
Right.
Her assistant, whoever does that,
Like
brilliant.
her
That is
stylist.
her stylist. That is the most beautiful you will see caterer. She's not. You look at some of her past videos, some of her past, and she's probably on a zipper or something. But they did a spectacular job of making her look like a woman. Well, I wouldn't say attractive, but not what she looked like in the past. And again,
Mhm.
aesthetics go a long way in politics. I'm not here to sugarcoat it. I'm telling you the ugly truth. So kudos to her, because I never want anybody to look horrific. And even though I loathe her, I kind of feel bad for her. Maybe because it's a man to me, she's a woman. It's just my innate thought process there. But kudos to that stylist. Everything else, she made no sense, and she didn't offer a solution outside of saying
Yeah.
she's done this, she's done this. And people, let me let you in on the secret. Government does not build an economy. All they can do is destroy an economy. You have to let the free market work its magic. And she said anything but that. Annette.
Well, I agree with you. She's less frumpy. That sort of was her look. So they've done a nice job with her makeover. And honestly, I didn't think she had a horrible night. I didn't think she had a horrible night, but she just didn't answer the question. I mean,
No,
she
she
didn't.
did not. She did not answer
So,
the question at all.
yeah.
And that was a major problem. So
She
Becerra,
had some moments to get her digs in. She used some opportunities
well,
more than
yeah,
one.
great point, because she's going after Tom Steyer. For some
Yeah, she
reason,
is.
she's going at I think she's going after him because he's lower hanging fruit that she can remember. Only two advanced, and Steyer
She
and
right.
Becerra
Tops.
are ahead of her, and Steyer is the one that's really not growing his base despite 150 million spent already, where Becerra got Swalwell's tickets. All right, let's move on let's head on over to the fire insurance rates topic.
Oh, that was a good one. That was good.
All righty. Let's switch it out. Put this on the other side.
I like that. I like it.
All right, here's the fire debate portion of it. And again, this is the NBC, which we both agree was the best one.
Yep. We agree. That's
Next
awesome.
question. A lot of people in the state of California think insurance is at a crisis situation. Major insurance companies have either pulled out of the state of California or they're stopped writing new policies altogether. Many people feel California's FAIR plan is the insurer of last resort. It is expensive any way you look at it. Secretary Becerra, we're going to start with you. You have 1 minute.
So I have called for a
Hold on a
freeze.
minute. I gotta ask you. First of all, he looks nice with the suit, but how he talk? When you sit there see him, do you go, "That's a man"? As a woman, what is when you see Professor Xavier there? What goes through your mind versus Chad Bianco?
Just, oh
Be
yeah.
honest.
Well, he's sort of like a stud look about him, right? He's like the Marlboro man. So he's got that persona.
Okay,
He's
okay,
just
okay. Let's move on to Javier now.
he's, I think of the word pasty. I don't even know I don't know why. He just seems, yeah, yeah,
I get, I get.
pasty.
And that's
Yeah.
being polite, people. She doesn't want to tell you, "I don't see a man there, William." All right, let's keep going.
I actually think they tried to give him a good haircut, to be honest with
No,
you.
see, he looks as good as he can, but his
Possibly could.
voice.
Okay.
So, for example, my voice, I acknowledge my voice and its tone is one of the weaknesses that you want if you're a politician. And but his, oh my God,
Mhm.
I'm like a studly man compared to Javier. All right.
of insurance rates for the very reason you pointed out. Most Californians don't understand why they're losing. And that's why I'm calling for a freeze, because those companies ought to tell us. We are entitled to know why they continue to raise our rates, why they get out of Dodge when the going gets tough. We have to make sure they are there when we need them.
Secretary Becerra, thank you. Ms.
All
Porter.
right. Okay. So real quick, and then complete lie. Everybody, even the homeless man on the corners down the road from here, that we all know why they left. Everybody knows now. So what was the purpose of him just flat out? I'm calling it like I see it, lying. I say he's lying because we know.
Yes. Because some people maybe don't know, but I guess what I would say, because you got me thinking about him when you said, "What do you think of him?" I tune him out because I find him boring. He's boring
Yes.
though.
Yes.
That's my problem with him. Like I want him to say something, but his words become, for me, they're just, the words have no life to them and they don't really end up really meaning anything. And I sort of don't expect them to even be believable. So I just sort of check him out. I just find him to be absolutely dull. So I don't know what he said there, but I didn't believe any of it.
Well, I think he was talking to his base again. I'm gonna freeze rates against those evil white insurance companies, my fellow brown Californians. That's what he's saying.
Yeah.
I'm gonna freeze the rates. And we've gone through this through a couple of
But you
debates
can't
already.
do that.
He can't, he
Yeah.
doesn't have the power to do that.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Just
You know what? When I see Javier, I think of a Warner Brothers cartoon with Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, and he's kind of like Elmer Fudd's sidekick. Honestly, when I see him, I think of that.
Yeah, we can't afford to freeze rates because what will happen is every insurer remaining in this state will leave. People cannot get insurance, not build more houses. They will not build green energy projects. The solution is more insurers competing for rates. The solution is to bring insurers back into the market to do the things that we in terms of allowing premiums to be written to the risk at the household level and to address climate change risk and invest in our firefighting service.
Okay, I kept hearing it. We're gonna fast forward. I don't want to do the other two because I wanted to play him, but we're taking up a little time here. But
sure.
because Tony Villa, the Villaracosa, and Matt Mahan, they all gave great answers. They stated what the problem is. They were willing to say what the problem is. But my issue with Katie Porter, green projects. How are these companies going to invest in these projects? That said, that's the best Democrat, moderate Democrat. What I'm trying to say is that's the best answer she could give to get the moderate Democrat. I thought it was a brilliant answer. From the truth, these insurance companies in California, they don't want to pay into to do business. You have to be enticed. You're not when they're going to come in and they still want to freeze rates. They still want you to get permission when they still want to make it negative to do business. And then they want you to pay for their change programs. It's not a winning formula to convince insurance companies. So I don't care to hear Matt Mahan. But well, I'll say this though, he's got a great voice. Listen to his voice.
You think?
Couldn't use climate data to actually model the amount of risk. Effectively told them they had to lose money by right.
He's got a voice. And for a politician, that comes across well, but he doesn't have anything else. Go ahead, Annette.
No, I just want you to know, William, that I get a lot of compliments on my voice. A lot. Just so you know, just putting it out there. I want to say something about Katie, though. What I wanted to say about Katie was I loved her and I loved the word competition. I'm like, she sounds like a capitalist. She wants to have insurance companies competing. So I was like, to me, it was a good answer. It was not a bad answer. How about that? So I totally agree with you.
No, I agree.
Yeah. So it was the best.
That's a moderate capitalism. Yeah, I get that.
It was decent. Yes.
Of course, the Democrat now is in his mid-50s. The young crowd, socialism.
Right. Right.
It's ain't no home anymore because it's up in ashes, and a Democrat will tell them, "Oh, it's the Republicans and
Right.
those big evil corporations' fault," and they'll believe him. Why? Because we're indoctrinating our kids. All right, let's get to
Fact,
Steve.
it's my fault because I must do a good job on the school board.
Oh, you're fine.
Mr. Hilton.
The things we haven't heard that I would do as governor is, number one, enforce the actual regulation in the original Proposition 103 that set up our insurance commission and the regulations around it, which says that rate changes need to be approved 60 days. Now it takes over a year. That's one of the leaving. And the other massive lawsuits up to $15,000 a year onto insurance premiums, and these Democrats won't change it because
Mr.
they are
Hilton.
funded by the
Mr. Hilton.
trial lawyers.
Thank you so much, Jeff Bianco.
Yeah, thank you. So
Hilton gave a solid answer.
Mhm.
It's lacking, though. It's not memorable. He did it concisely, soundbite version, but it didn't have the pop. Well, those are two great campaign talking points. And you have to simplify the lawsuit one, but to focus on 15, you're getting charged 15,000 more per year because of frivolous Democratic politician lawsuits. And the other one is your rates aren't going to come down because it takes over a year to just look at the rates. And these companies, they're not going to wait a year because a full fire season will have come and gone within that year. So he needs to really figure out how to say that. And the G-Man's here. I'll bring you in right after we finish up with Steve Hilton here, G-Man. Annette, your thoughts on Steve? Oh, and then Steve Hilton, he needs that beard. Look what he's competing against there.
It gives him some gravitas, right?
Yes, it does.
But what I wanted to say about his answer was that was something actually that someone just listening and someone who's also a voter that I hadn't factored in. So I thought it was a good point.
Yes, exactly. All right, let's bring in the G-Man here. The G-Man was sleeping off.
It was a nice
G, how you
Mother's Day.
doing? There you go.
Good.
So, G, you caught us.
Nice
We're
sushi
right.
buffet tonight.
You caught us. We're talking about we're reviewing their answers to the fire, to the insurance rates question. We're right on the Marlboro Man. So be prepared to respond. Gee, maybe a little mustache there where you sit there and help you out there. You don't get it. We've been talking.
the difference between me and everyone else after I'm your governor is I'm not going to lie to you about what's causing this problem in the first place. And I have some very dire news for all of you. The insurance are not going to come back if another Democrat is the ones that are on this stage, because the reasons why they left is because of failed Democrat policies that forced them to leave. A government cannot force a business to go into bankruptcy. And the insurance companies repeatedly, legislature and our governor, that our environmental policies that prevent our fire department from creating defensible space around our homes and our properties was going to lead to multiple cities being destroyed. And unfortunately, we saw it in the Palisades. And unfortunately for the Palisades victims, the insurance companies, our governor called their bluff, state, leaving all of them, most of them, without insurance. We absolutely will get rid of CEQA and the Coastal Commission. The fire department will clear defensible space, and naturally the insurance companies will come back and our rates will go down.
All right. I thought that was a brilliant answer. Annette, you need to center yourself there a little bit. I thought that was a brilliant answer. A little bit long for the campaign trail. If he can shorten that down, wonderful. Again, stand out compared to them. Hilton is arguably the most steady across all these debates. It took a couple of debates for Bianco, but he's popping. He just wheeling them out. I love this answer. Truthful. They're not coming back because of these morons we've elected. That's kind of what he was saying. Senorita Annette.
Yeah, he's just clear. He gets right to the point, and he's clear about it. And so it's really easy to understand and digest his information and say, oh yeah, A plus B equals C. So I loved his answers in this debate.
G-Man, your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I agree with both of them, really. I mean, insurance is a disaster in this state, and something's got to change. I know a lot of homeowners who've lost their insurance. I actually lost my insurance, and then my mortgage company threatened me to basically, we're going to give you insurance that's going to be more expensive than the one you're going to get on your own. So I went out there and I shopped, and it ends up the one the mortgage company is getting me is the cheapest one. Everything else is several $1,000s more. So I'm just like, okay, I I just said, go ahead, and mortgage company, just give me your insurance. I'm fine. So maybe the
Yeah,
coverage is poorer, but I never really use the insurance. It's good to know it's there if I need it. But yeah, these guys got to solve the problem. It's not going to be the Democrats.
exactly, exactly. All right, let's move on to the immigration sanctuary question. The reason I'm hitting on these topics is because these are the topics that have been first and foremost on the minds of Californians with all the wildfires brought on by Democrat regime of Gavin Newsom, of Javier Becerra, of Karen Bass, of I don't know what's that councilwoman's name in LA that's running for, I always forget her name, nothing something, all of them. So that was very important. The other one obviously is we don't want to get mugged. We don't want to get shot. We don't want to get robbed. And illegal goes, that's sad. The cop says, okay, you're off. And we get hauled to jail. So this was on immigration and sanctuary. This was a short one here. This was the NBC debate again. So, Gee, before we go, Annette and I have been discussing, and we both agreed that we thought the NBC debate was the best one out of it because that CNN was just everything was thrown to the wall to see what stuck.
The state sanctuaries law restricts local authorities from cooperating with federal agents, federal immigration officers. What is one thing, Mr. Bianco, you would replace or change about the current sanctuary law in California?
I would eliminate sanctuary state. Sanctuary state is what is creating the issue that we have in California. It didn't exist before 20. Immigration it is the responsibility of the federal government to enforce immigration laws. And prior to 2018, they come into our jails and they would those criminals who are evicting us, and they would deport them. That ended with sanctuary state law SB 54. They forced us to those people back into our communities, and the ICE has to go into the communities to get them instead of the security of the jail.
Mr. Bianco, so if county jails can commute if the person in question is a convicted felon, criminal of a violent crime.
Okay, I'm going to step in here quick just to inform the audience. So that is true what Enrique said, but Bianco got cut off or something happened. He didn't answer. What he was trying to say and was going to say is yes, but we risk getting arrested, having investigations done to us by the state of California. That's why there's no cooperation from these local agencies with the state, because the state has threatened to sue them, have threatened to arrest them, have threatened to incarcerate them. And that's where he was going to say, but then he got cut off. And when he got cut off, he lost his train of thought and went to the next point.
So what would be the difference then if you want to change something?
There's a huge difference because I have someone in my jail right now that if the attorney wants to arrest me when I turn him over, he's convicted of a felony.
Right there. He asked him the question, which sideswiped his answer. He changed up and went to a different response, but he was going to go down the road of we are at risk of getting arrested ourselves if we do that. So just because it's on the books as law, they can't do that or they risk their own careers. And risking their own careers, think of it, people, a deputy or even a sheriff have tens of thousands to defend themselves when the state counts on them knowing. All right, so this is how he did respond. I'm going to take it back just a couple of seconds. So, because I did kind of throw it in chaos there with my wording.
He's convicted of a felony, but prior convictions for DUI, he was reported on 2 of them back into the country. And then if the attorney general wants to arrest me when I turn him over, he's convicted of a felony. Prior convictions for DUI, he was released from jail. He was deported on 2 of them back into the country. And then why? We have to wait until somebody dies before we deport criminals who are in our jail. And those people who are released from the jail. Officials have to go into the communities to get them. And that is what we see what we see.
Okay, so my dad is, I think Enrique was trying to get him with a gotcha. Well, they can arrest him. And when he went to the point of yes, but the state will arrest me. Notice how he said that. Then Enrique threw him with the question, well, is he a felon? In there. I don't know if he did that on purpose, but it diverted what would. But I thought, again, Chad Bianco was brilliant. He was, what I liked about him, when he paused, he was an He paused, got his thoughts together, and answered. He's coming across as a man's man. He's coming as well informed. He's coming across as knowledgeable. And most importantly, is putting everything in the common working class terms and tone. Gee, your thoughts before we go to Annette.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure with 7 candidates on the stage, there's very limited time, and they were told, okay, keep things running and smooth and all that. But you want a reporter or a debate moderator would interrupt only if the candidate is like going off the question, they're not answering the question, or they're filibustering, or they're doing something different. But Chad was answering the question directly, and it just really upsets me that Enrique would just all of a sudden cut him off and then try to do the gotcha, right? And like you said, we don't know if that's intentional. Maybe he had the 2-part question and he's like, okay, I got the first answer already or whatnot. But that is an important distinction, that sanctuary laws means that you can't go into the jails, right? And take these guys and deport them. You have to actually deport them from where they live or their communities. And so that would have been a very strong answer to that second part, but he didn't get a chance to give it.
Exactly. Señorita Annette, thoughts on the Marlboro Man?
Well, I felt like Enrique, right when he did that, I'm like, he's trying to set him up. Do you know what I mean? And trying to twist it.
Oh,
I
yeah.
I just, it really bothered me because he was giving such a great answer. And again, explaining it for all of us. And then I'll just say one more thing because you guys have already stated it all very well. The other thing that he did that I really liked, a lot of times in these debates, other debates, this does happen sometimes, but in these debates I've been watching, a lot of times they bring up, well, when I was raised by my mother, and they try to tell their personal stories and interject them. What I loved about what he just did, though, was he told someone else's story about what happened to them.
Oh, great point.
And I thought, there's something, this person had to die. Like, and that did affect me. I was affected by that. So.
That's a great point. That's a great point in that. And we're going to talk about that more with Spencer Pratt, because everybody wants to be Donald Trump and talk about their woe is me story to try to get attention. And it never works. You're not Donald Trump and you're not woe is me. We're not buying it. But with Chad doing that as a sheriff, so very powerful stuff there. I think Chad, these debates have strengthened him for the campaign trail. I'm just not sure there's enough time. And the reason Chad Bianco was attacked so vociferously the last 2 debates is he's slowly losing his numbers because that Trump endorsement is really, I think, finally starting to kick in with the name recognition. All right, let's move on to Tony Villa. And I love telling the story. Tony Villa, better known now as Don Antonio Villarraga. He changed it by combining it with his wife to sound more Latino. Him and Enrique should have a beer together. Enrique can teach him how to do a better accent. Oh, you Tony, you need to talk like this. Here's my little friend. All right. I crack myself up. So this one here's the image. Chad Bianco versus Tony Villa, the immigration sanctuary question continues.
The state's law restricts local authorities from cooperating with federal agents, federal immigration officers. Really quick, 30 seconds.
He said that.
You see what I mean? Antonio Villarragosa. Yeah.
He said that yesterday. It's just not true. 12,000 undocumented violent criminals. Tell that to the family that lost their child. Look, I know you're an oath keeper and you do whatever you want, but let me be clear. Let me finish my thing. May I have my time back?
Yeah, okay, yes, we're going to give it to you.
Let me just say, in fact, you keep on saying that they don't turn over
violent criminals.
No, I didn't.
That's just not true.
No, I
they
didn't.
do. They've turned over 12,000 since
It
2019.
obviously wasn't enough.
Well,
Mr. Villaraigosa, thank you. Ms.
Okay, so this is the Marlboro Man's first fumble of the night. This Tony Villa has been bringing this up for a while now, for the last 2 debates. Bianco's team should have researched this out like I did. Because I'm like, that's fishy. That sounds pretty fishy. Because I know in 2017 or 2018, they literally made it criminal, as the sheriff was about to say, that they risk being arrested. And sure enough, I was right. In 2017 to the present, out of that 12,000, there's only been approximately 2,500 cases of turning criminals over. So what's that? 80% less out of the so-called 12,000. That's where Chad Bianco failed in calling him out, because that number would have made massive impact. You're right, but since we became a sanctuary state, legally speaking, only 2,000 have been turned over. And then he could have come up, Annette, with a good story. So I'll tell that to the mother and said a name there. But I did like his response. 12,000 is not enough. A little bit weak. Annette, your thoughts on the exchange?
Yeah, sometimes they can frustrate him a little bit. And so, but so then I thought at least he finished strong when he said, well, it's not enough. And so when he
Yes,
went for
yes.
that, I'm like, okay, he's redeemed that part of the conversation. But I know what you're saying. That was a little bit of a weakness there.
Gee,
No, I love how Tony was given 30 seconds
yeah,
and Chad basically stomped all over it. And then Enrique's like, right, we got to move on. So I have to say that was a power move. And that's what Trump did in the debates 10 years ago. So that's what Chad did there. But it was respectful. But it was tough too. It's like, look, I'm not going to back down on this idea, right? So I appreciate Chad doing that.
well, that's the man's man, and then coming out like, no, senor, you don't talk to this sheriff that way. And that so as a man, I'm like, oh yeah, you tell him. You tell that we'll love this next exchange here. Once again, Tony Villa and the Marlboro Man mixing it up.
I have sworn an oath 3 times to
For your
defend my
reference,
Constitution.
Okay, to set this up, they're trying to destroy the Oath Keepers. I think they're failing because nobody cares about the Oath Keepers, because we've seen how bad border security was. And that's how they elected Trump. So to me, this is a dead issue the Democrats want to bring up to take down Sheriff Bianco. And that's for Caitlin Collins. Somebody needs to tell her to grow a lip.
Yeah. Yes, and everybody that wants to, like, again, lie and emotionally get all spun up about the Oath Keeper organization, I just would, before you do that, and I know none of you have, I want you to go read the mission statement of the Oath Keeper mission statement. And
I saw them on CNN attacking the Capitol.
And the ACLU. I saw a politician molesting kids. Does that mean you molest kids? What? Exactly. You don't pull those stupid statements out and expect to not be called out.
You have no reason to.
There is
They're not
absolutely
qualified to be governor of California.
I am extremely proud of swearing an oath to defend my Constitution against politicians like this. I have sworn an oath.
I thought that was brilliant, people. I thought, because that's how many times do we sit there and say, why don't we bring it up when, like they do to us? And he's absolutely right. And to make it worse, I've seen politicians molesting kids and philandering there, Tony, because Tony got caught in a very public affair. And he was utterly stunned. He did not expect that coming. It was an ugly truth, and more importantly, he kept his pride and dignity intact. I took an oath, and I'm proud of that. Now, that's not going to resonate with Democrats who flip-flop worse than a fish out of water, but it will resonate to try to get some of these conservative independents, I believe. Gee.
No, guilt by association is ridiculous. Now, there are some organizations like, okay, look, you just don't be a part of that organization because that says a lot about you. But Oath Keepers is very different. And I think it was right for Chad. I don't know much about Oath Keepers, but I think it's right for Chad to bite back and go, look, like, I just want to protect the Constitution. Doesn't mean that it's some kind of bad organization. Again, I don't know much about it, but they're making it into like this. I don't know what they're trying to do with it. Maybe you can shed a little bit of light on it, but I think it was fine for Chad to bite back like that. And you could see Tony's face is like, well, of course not. But
Oh,
it kind of made me a little suspicious, the look on his face. So I have to like rub my chin a little bit there and go, what was that all about?
it's a case where they can go after anybody in the party like that. I thought Republicans needed that more often, and Chad was spot on there. Annette,
I just think
thoughts?
those kinds of comparisons are always weak and low-hanging fruit and not actually very interesting at all. So I had looked up and read a little bit about the Oath Keepers. I was proud of him for defending it too, G. When I read about it, it seemed like there were some people making it seem like it was a very
Racist
extreme,
group.
sort of extreme and radical. Yeah.
Yeah,
But I don't know what it
yeah.
actually really is. So you're getting a lot of things when you sort of Google it. So I'm not really sure. And it didn't seem like he is involved, that it was years ago that he was involved the way he was, and that's not a more recent thing. So
What
I'm
Yeah,
about
they're
his
saying
attack
a
back?
far right militia group,
right.
fringe, anti-government.
Right, right, right.
Okay,
But then the whole point of the segment was how he fought back. What did you think of him throwing it in his face? Like, you want to tell me with that nonsense? What about you, Mr.
yeah, I mean,
Molester?
he's not denying he's a part of it. I mean,
Like
maybe
fire
he
with
can't
fire.
deny it, but he stood strong on it. So
It's a far better way
All
of
right, we'll keep
handling it
moving.
than cowering. It's a far better way of handling it
Yeah.
than being afraid.
Again, you saw a man not backing down. Come here, boy. All right. Let's sit there. So this one here, this next one's with Steve Hilton, I believe, and how our favor Warner Brothers character Javier Becerra. You weren't here, G. I told Annette Javier Becerra reminds me of a Warner Brothers cartoon character with Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck. he, he goes right in there with them.
Mr. Becerra, are you proud that you pushed out 85,000?
Okay, this is Tony Villa. They're eating each other. This is Tony Villa attacking
Believe it.
Becerra because he's saying it's a MAGA lie. But as you both know, we've talked about it over and over how the Trump administration has rescued over 30,000. They found 30,000 of those lost children. And
Mhm.
Javier there keeps saying it's a MAGA lie. That's going to burn him. But I think Javier is paying up to the Democrat progressive base right now with the hate Trump because he's got nothing else. But Tony Villa there's desperate. So he's calling him out on it. I want to get your thoughts.
Thousand migrant children. They were, according to the New York Times, they were maimed, they were exploited, some were even killed. You said those are MAGA talking points. It's a MAGA hoax. Tell that to the children who died.
Trump lied.
Okay. Pete, did you see how he smiled there? No care. He doesn't care about the actual kids. It's just a rehearsed talking point for him.
About that, this whole situation with the migrant kids in 20.
Did the New York Times lie?
Why don't you let me finish, Antonio?
Okay.
Donald Trump campaigned against our Democratic candidate, Kamala Harris, vice president, for using these lies. In 2026,
All right, we know those aren't lies, just to clarify to the audience.
now you have candidates like Antonio and Tom Steyer using these very lies. They were lies when Trump said them 2 years ago. They're lies today.
I think that's all he has. Annette, is that all he has? Comment on the kids if you want. But the point is, what I'm seeing here with him is nothing but hate Trump, hate Trump, hate Trump. It's all lies. And we all know this is the truth. I think if he gets past the primary, this is going to burn him. Because little Lupita, she doesn't care what color skin is in office. She wants her kids protected.
I thought that could have been the exchange that did him in. And you want to know why it surprised me a little bit? Because it's like what you said, like they're eating their own. Like to bring that up for those who maybe didn't know, didn't make the connection, or even for someone like me who I hadn't made the connection. So when he brought that up and then I knew the story, I was like, oh, this guy's bad news. And I wonder if a lot of other people felt the same way.
G-Man.
yeah, I I think, like you said, they're eating their own. It gives it actually a little more credibility. Now, I don't know what the truth is. It could be made up, but one, the New York Times is reporting on it, so that's still
Gives it
like,
more
okay, well, that's
credibility.
50% credibility. But now Tony's using it in a debate. People watching going, wait, this is a Democrat and a Democrat organ or a media organization pushing
Right.
this. So in their mind, it might be like, well, maybe it's true. New York Times holds a lot of weight in a lot of Democrats' minds. So I thought it was funny at the end of that clip, at least, he goes, Antonio, let me
Oh,
finish.
God, that
Like,
pisses me off. Antonio, because that would be Xavier, Javier. What the bleep's your name, man?
but that's
No,
more of it's almost like a parent calling their child and
yes.
they know they're in trouble. Like that's what it felt like. And he was trying to pull rank or whatever, trying
You
to pull
know,
a power move.
That's an interesting
Yeah.
point.
And that's coming from a duck with a C in Javier Becerra.
Yeah.
You got the weak calling, and when you look at Tony Villa, you see a man, but I think Tony Villa, he was brought up by the machine. He cruised his way. In his last 6 years, 8 years, 10 years, he's been terrible, terrible. He's barely 4% here. All right. So this, I'm not sure this is going to make any headway, but it could if it's Hilton and Javier. Hilton exposes some corruption within Bugs Bunny here with Javier Becerra. I don't know how much it'll stick. I don't think it did much damage. I'm showing this more as a preview, and Javier has a lot more baggage, I think, than people realize.
Mr. Hilton, you get 30 seconds.
Thank you very much. I tell you what I haven't done, Javier, is break state and federal law by taking money from a campaign account and funneling it to a senior aide, breaking those laws and then denying it. I tell you what I haven't done, which we reveal today, which is to take a funded organization from your money, your taxes are paying illegal immigrants to campaign for Javier Becerra through an organization called Churla, and he's accepted their endorsement. It is completely outrageous.
Okay, so notice that little camera work? Your money, people. That's Annette.
I guess I have a question. Is it true?
Yes, court papers have been filed. The Democrats are trying to make Javier more of a victim of see, this is a double-edged sword for him. Are you that stupid? You didn't know what was happening with your own campaign manager
Right.
or your own campaign staff member? Because that you do. So I don't know, because remember, for this to gain legs, the media has to pick up on it. So I'm not sure if it will. Any thoughts? Or moving on to G? Thoughts?
Move on to G.
I mean, I think there's
Gee,
enough
man.
there for people to be like, what's going on with that and look into it. But again, like I had predicted, I can't remember how many weeks ago, they're going to, after Swalwell resigned, Congress, and dropped out of the race, I predicted the establishment's going to basically back Javier. And because he's
Yes, you
held,
did. You did.
yeah, some of the highest positions in the government, state government of all the candidates on the Democrat side, and he just has that, that Latin Hispanic type of appeal. But if this is true, or even if it seems to be true, I mean, it might sink him. And I saw some polls where Tom Steyer is actually now the top
Pulling ahead.
Democrat.
I saw those too.
Okay. So, G, to correct you, don't you ever, ever make this mistake again. He appeals to the white progressive voter. To us Latinos, that guy's a duck with a C. Never forget that.
You're talking about Steyer?
No.
No, Javier Becerra. Steyer's a nut job. You were here for my opening. That man scares me if he gets elected. That guy's just a complete nut job. Okay, let's move on to, man, it is a Chad Bianco night, isn't it? Chad Bianco, Katie Porter. I started feeling bad for her. What the hell's the matter with me?
Yeah, what's happening to you, William?
I don't know. Maybe somebody gave me an estrogen shot somewhere I didn't notice. So this is Katie Porter getting on her high horse, I believe.
Oh, totally.
I can't believe that I.
And Gee, you missed it. I gave, and that kind of agreed. I gave stylists the best prompts because that's the most beautiful we'll ever see. They did a phenomenal job compared to previous videos of her and how she looks. And I'm assuming she's on Ozempic, but God bless that woman. She's doing her best to make it work.
30 minutes of interrupting and bickering and name calling and disrespect everyone up here, public service, that anyone wants to talk about my temperament.
You were
Talk
actually
about your
interrupting them too. I don't know why you want to act like you weren't.
Oh, cowboy
Steve and I-
cupcake.
Oh, did y'all pick up on that? Every time she's playing the victim. Oh, cowboy. She's using that derogatorily. Is that how you say it?
Yes.
That's how she's saying it, derogatorily.
Mhm.
Let me rewind that for
Cowboy up cupcake. There's
Yeah.
a lot there.
Yes, cupcake. I use that term all the time to piss off the feminazis. They hate that. They forget what the topic is. They just go off. Don't you ever call me cupcake, sweetness, pumpkin. I use them all.
Steve and I sat here smiling at each other because we're just watching you all prove to everyone, smiling at each other, going to act like you weren't.
Oh, cowboy
Steve and I sat here smiling at each other because we're just watching you all prove to everyone why they can't vote for a Democrat.
Exactly.
I'll answer the question.
Congresswoman Porter, first off, do you want to respond to that from Sheriff Bianco?
Yep. I did not interrupt. I did not go back and forth. Mr. Bianco.
That's terrible. See, I thought as a man, I'm like, I'm starting to feel bad for Katie. And there's Chad grinning like a little 5-year-old.
Oh, you've been very well behaved tonight, especially compared to CBS. And I actually appreciate it that you've been waiting your turn and following the rules. And I would appreciate it if everybody could do that. Because I think
That's when I started to feel bad for her. Poor woman's going to break down on stage.
Californians are actually owed some answers to questions.
We were told we can interject.
Congresswoman Porter.
Okay, so I kept that last part in there purposely, people, which kind of completely defeats what Katie Porter was saying. We were told we could interject. This is why CNN had the worst debate of all. They wanted this show. And that is wrong for the people of California. That is wrong to the politicians. It is disgusting. That's why this debate was nothing. If you notice, most of the crap remarks are coming from the CNN debate. It's an embarrassment. They are a disgrace. Ted Turner, rest in peace, just passed away. He sat there and said news was always supposed to be the star. CNN, when he showed it, that went away. Great example. Annette, your thoughts on Ms. Porter there. And the fact that they were told they can interject, which kind of defeats her whole shebang there.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing. Your point that I wanted to make a point to is also the point about CNN. That debate was awful because there were a lot of moments when everyone was talking all at once and it seemed like the place was out of control. And then nobody who was a listener had any idea what was going on or who had the floor or who was making the point or what was the point. And so when that happens, there's that kind of chaos. I don't know if that's what CNN wanted to create.
Yes, that's what they want.
And what a shame, which just again points to the fact that they don't care about the people. Because she was right about one thing. The people of California who are listening to these debates do want some answers, or they want to see if they can get any real answers to some of the problems that are plaguing the state. So she did have that point. That was a fair point.
Right. I'm like that a lot. I know you and G just want the snapshots for the clicks. I want the truth.
No,
G.
No, I mean, I'll just play the play-by-play, and I think it's pretty self-explanatory, but just to underline the whole thing. She basically says, you men interrupting each other, and I'm the sweet little woman. She's trying to rehabilitate her, get the F out of my shot image that was brought pretty early in this campaign. I think that's run its course, but it's really damaged her. So then she's saying, well, you guys are all interrupting each other. We know later, right at the end of that clip, the rules were you
Yeah,
can.
we're going to show the next clip. So hold
Right.
that thought. We're going to go right into the next clip on that.
Right. Okay.
Finish
So
your
then,
thought on this one, though.
but then Chad jumps in, rightfully so, and said, you've been interrupting too, calling her out on it. But she basically didn't say, I have a good temperament, but she was making that point that her temperament is probably better than everyone up here. And the moment he makes that clip, she fights back loses her temper.
Cowboy.
I think that's obvious. She loses her temper.
Buckle
Says,
up,
cowboy
cowboy.
up, like you're a sissy. Calls him cupcake. And I think whatever cup was under in the podium was not filled with water but mashed potatoes, right? But he had basically checkmated her, because now what is she going to do? Interrupt him after saying we're all interrupting each other? So then she stayed quiet and gave him the death glare, because she's like, now do I interrupt back? Because I just said that's
Well, she
bad.
chastised him, G. She chastised, you've been good, Mr. Bianco, tonight, like a teacher to a child.
Right. And then she almost tried to take the high road, but then that doesn't even play well. It's like that backhanded compliment. And so for anyone watching and that went over your head, that's basically what happened there.
All right. Let's keep on moving. Let's keep on to probably the most controversial comment of the night. The Marlboro Man was on fire for 2 straight nights. Let's get to it.
I mean, I think we ought to enforce the existing sanctuary laws everywhere, so we don't have crazy cowboys taking the law into their own hands.
Tell that to a crazy mother who lost her child.
Sir, I don't need any lectures from you about...
You might.
But after that, there was like a groan. Oh. I want to say that's for last, so we'll go to you first, G.
Well, in her own campaign commercial, okay, you're a mom, right? This is so poignant, because I can't remember if the commercial came out before or after the debate. But in there, she's like, I'm a mom just like you guys, and I've got a minivan with 200,000 miles on it. Like, she's a congresswoman making $250,000, and I've got a son who's probably just going to be sleeping on my couch. And that's actually in the video, basically calling her son a loafer. And so you have to wonder what kind of mom would do that. Like, if I'm running for an office, I wouldn't throw my kid under the bus. I would just keep that out of there and find other things. Like, okay, I'm going through the grocery store. I'm just like you. Oh, that grocery store, that's the highlight. like that's how you have to show that you're one of us. It's just absurd. But just going back to the mom thing, that is, you don't throw your kids under the bus. There's no reason you should do that.
Quite a handful of points to make based on what G said. So I don't watch Megyn Kelly, but in doing my research, her little snippet came up of what she said about Katie Porter, and she's absolutely right. Katie Porter's, I give her stylist a raise. I give her campaign manager the Batman Robin meme. Because at the end of the day, her having a minivan with 200,000 miles, unbelievable. Her having a kid who she brags is on her sofa with her education, how she is, he's a lazy POS is what comes across. 3, just because you go do your shopping, just because you have a minivan, just because you have a son, does not mean you're relating to the average Californian. Because whether true or not, there is no Californian parent who's going to think of themselves that way. Complete disconnect. Annette, as a
Well,
mother,
the
how
stylist
did you view the
did a
Marlboro Man?
great job. However, she has been trying to redeem her character in a lot of ways. And then her true colors emerged again. She's just such a dislikable person. Do you know what I'm saying? She is just smarmy, and she's got attitude, and she's got a little bit of a nasty streak. And, I don't need you telling me, sir. I mean, she didn't really even mean this, sir. It was just so condescending. And it was so, you could tell she was just like basically rolling her eyes at him. And he's like, you might, which I thought was honestly a great thing to say, because she does not have the final word on really what it means to be a human being. That was more than about motherhood.
Great point. That's my whole take. My overall take is, in real life, taking the politics out, taking the cameras out, I question her ability mother, because it's in court. She threw mashed potatoes, scalding water. Her kids, if they didn't see it, they now have heard about it. Get the bleep out of my shop. If she's doing that in the staff, your kids see that stuff too. So what kind of mom is she really?
Yeah.
Doesn't put much drive into her kid if he's sleeping on the sofa at home. 18, my dad said, get out. What am I going to do? Looks pretty good. So,
But
You know,
just
anyway,
think about
William, she holds it together, but at the end of the day, that person who I think she actually is underneath the veil comes out.
yeah,
oh, yes, it comes out
that's right.
with cowboy up case. That's how it comes out. Go ahead, G.
But just think about what
She can't
Gavin
help herself.
Newsom
That's
said
what she is.
a few weeks ago. He's talking to an audience of African American people, and he's like, "I'm just like you. Like, I can barely read.
Dumb as a rock.
I'm not very smart."
Yeah.
And it's like, wait, what? Like that's stupid to stereotype a whole group of people. But that's
Yes.
what Katie Porter's doing. Like, I'm just like you. I drive old cars. I got lots of miles on it. I have lazy kids. Like, what? You're nothing like me.
And for the approval rating with Black Americans is the highest it's ever been. Even though his overall favorabilities are down, with Black Americans, they're the highest they've ever been. Why? Because they're listening to Newsom. Huh? What'd he say? What'd that white boy say? That's what they're doing. All right. So, as I said earlier, I don't know if you were listening, G, or you were on. It's probably the man in me wanting to be protective of the woman, but I did feel pangs of sorrow with this next clip. It's a little long, but I thought, oh my gosh, she is not going to, and you'll know what I'm talking about here.
Out an ad of your own, now making light of that interaction that you had with your
That's not
staffer,
correct, Caitlin.
which you said you apologized for.
That is not correct. The ad is about showing Californians what they've had a chance to see on this stage tonight and in every other debate stage that we've had, which is that I'm able to take responsibility. I'm able to follow the rules, able to say I'm sold to do better. Everybody in California had a chance to see me on stage with that reporter in the last debate and see exactly how I conducted myself. Californians can decide for themselves about my temperament based on what they've seen here tonight. And if these boys bullying and bickering hasn't been raised questions of their temperament, I would really challenge that. I have taken responsibility at this point hundreds of times, and that's appropriate because I made a bad decision and I treated someone badly. I apologized 5 years ago for it, and we worked together 4 more years. What I heard is the people on this stage who have made other bad decisions and other mistakes and other failures of leadership. Not one of these men have said in his entire campaign, I've made a mistake, not for not being able to account for undocumented children who labor. You call that MAGA talking points and a hoax, Mr. Becerra.
Oh, hi.
I could go down the line. I don't even want to waste my time on that. I want to say to California, I have taken risk on that. And what that ad is about, Caitlin, is about showing that I can laugh at myself. I can hold myself to account, and I have the fitness, the temperament, and the best ideas to be governor. And everybody's had a chance to see now in 3 debates how.
Thank you, Congresswoman
myself.
Porter.
Okay, so few points there. Points.
Yeah.
One, she had it going there for the sympathy card until she attacked Javier and she couldn't help herself. You saw they did the pan out and you saw those men. Some of them were kind of looking down like because they didn't want to be there in that space with her because for better or for worse, she was speaking as a hurt, humbled woman. But she just can't help herself. And she went on the attack with Becerra. She said, you men. She shouldn't have said that, and she would have gotten greater sympathy. But the reason is her voice started trembling. And after sarcastic, I didn't think she was going to cry, but I thought she was close to that point of crying. When anybody's voice trembles, it's because they're on the verge of tears. And that trembling is kind of like that last barrier to not cry. So I thought it was a good moment for her that she ruined it because at that moment she could have connected with every white suburban liberal vote out there. And she needs them and she doesn't have them because a lot of those white suburban and their belief, the what's it called, G? The low expectations of that Bush said.
Yeah. the soft bigotry of low expectations.
Yes,
Yeah.
because that's what she's dealing with those white suburban women. She could have gotten every vote there, but she just couldn't help herself. And she's right. That commercial's purpose was to show she could laugh at herself. I just thought overall, from the trembling from a 10 to a 6, and she lost the momentum herself. Gee.
Okay, so the audience has to make two decisions because there's only one of two ways this goes. One, that was the get the F out of my shot. That was a moment of weakness. She's not normally like that. It was recorded and then came out in this campaign, and she doesn't want to be tied to that one mistake in her life. So that maybe would be why her voice is trembling. She's like, don't define me by this one moment. Or that's her character. She's always like that. And then her voice is trembling because it's like, geez, that one moment is like leaking to everyone, and it's really affected my campaign. And so it's not about how I treated that woman. Now it's about how it's affecting her. So a lot of people say you're sorry, not because you're really sorry, but because you got caught. So that's what I attribute the second one to, is she's normally like this. That's her character. And I think we're seeing that in the debates. And her voice is trembling because she's like, dang it, I got caught, and somebody leaked that tape, and it's someone related to her, related to her office, because they had this video on Zoom or whatnot. So I tend to lean towards the latter because I think that is the woman she is, just based on the evidence. And I don't give the sympathy. But then you said she started attacking Javier. That was calculated. She's like, okay, her target is the top Democrat polling Democrat of that day, and she's trying to knock him down. So that's why she went after him, and then said, well, I don't have time for everyone else. So I'm going to lean on the latter argument rather than this is a one-off moment.
All right. Okay. Annette G has no empathy for women. We just found out.
Oh, he's always had a lot of compassion for me, so I don't believe that for a second.
He needs a ride. That's why. Our thoughts on that.
I think we're always our worst enemy. She's a bit of a Shakespearean figure for me at this point, because what I heard through what she was saying was, I'm better than you guys because I'm admitting that I can make mistakes. But she sort of has to, because they've been so public about it. And I sort of have to agree with G, because what was behind those tears for me, and I did feel her words. I actually appreciated her words. It's not easy to fess up for your human frailties, for the fact that you say things you don't mean, and then it gets public. And then how do you sort of like create a different image of yourself if that was the wrong image? But what I felt in her almost tears, that frustrated level that she got to, was like, why the fuck do I have to even do this? I shouldn't have to be like, behind it was like, I shouldn't have to be saying I'm sorry because I put mashed potatoes on my husband's head. Literally, that's what I don't believe her. I'm sorry, but I don't. Is that terrible? I don't mean to be terrible.
So, and that agrees with my second theory.
I do.
Yeah, man. We got two vicious Rancho Santa Fe School Board trustee.
We are
politicians here. No, I think we're all right. I think that what she went through has literally destroyed her. Her career's over, at least for the next year. She's not going to advance, I don't think. I think it's a situation in which she's realizing that, and in that moment, she's like, I'm doing everything to change back to what is acceptable, and I get no help or support from you guys. And she shouldn't. But then again, she attacked, etc., etc. All right. So, who won? So after all the policy chaos and the personal drama, who actually helped themselves in these debates, and who just auditioned for more TV time? So it's already changed, but going into the debate, and I'll pull it up after we start talking about this for the end. But there are four major debates: Cron 4 Next Star debate, the CBS Pomona debate, the CNN train wreck, and the best debate of them all, the NBC LA Enrique Mundo for Channel 52 debate. So they all are gearing up towards, which is what, about 3.5 weeks away. And only the top two overall can move forward. So the debate required, generally speaking, 1 to 5%. And that was done through polling of Emerson, LA Times, UC Berkeley, CBS, YouGov. So out of those, Steve Hilton and Chad Bianco appeared in all four. Democrats, Javier Becerra, Katie Porter, Tom Steyer, and Matt Mahan appeared in all four. Antonio Villaraigosa was in the final three. He managed to go from 4%. So he did get a slight bump within that time. The Panamanian, he barely cracked 1% and wasn't even brought on stage because he was polling well, but simply because he was black. Sad but true. We call it like it is. And that was the only debate he was invited to. And I say that because they were bragging how diverse their stage was. So, core issues, homelessness, housing, you saw that tonight. The cost of living, you saw that, healthcare. We didn't talk about that too much this one, but in the previous debate we did. Immaturity, we cover that here. Affordability, tech business, we covered that a little bit in the previous podcast. In doing my research, I want to break this down first. Y'all just tell me yes or no, or you can chime in as well. But I thought Cron 4 was substantive for the first one, policy heavy. They were all getting their sea legs. Sea legs is a term, they were trying to find their footing. The CBS was crowded, chaotic, 8 candidates, lots of interruptions. The second panelist or moderator was the answers. You go, girl. In fact, she was the one who was interviewing Katie Porter with "We're done." Remember that?
Yeah.
That moderator. So the CNN and NBC. CNN was a train wreck. NBC was, I thought it was very good. Any thoughts on anything I have said so far? Candidates or the debates themselves? Gee.
Well, I will just say this about, I think, the American people at large. So the first debate, we all kind of agreed like no one really pulled ahead. No one really seemed to be, it just seemed kind of bland and boring, policy heavy or whatnot. I think part of us want to see a little bit of drama. But then fast forward to CBS and then really CNN, there's drama. Well, those are the clips that we looked at. And those are the clips that the media actually focused on. So, and then we say train wreck, and rightfully so. But I think this is stuff we actually live for. And I know we'll talk about Pratt in the future, but that's the stuff that really makes the headlines. And then it almost doesn't matter, like, what exactly do they think about law enforcement and stuff like that? Like, when it's minor, it's like, okay, well, that's not substantial for me. So that's just a thought I have. I think the CNN, NBC ones were great. So
great. No, I get, you're right, G. There's an accident we're driving. Looking at that accident, it's human nature. It's human nature. But CNN has a responsibility. So instead of these things happening naturally and getting caught on film, they purposely set the stage up so it happens. And that's what I find disgusting. I find Caitlin not having an upper lip disgusting, but that's just me. Annette, any thoughts before we show a little bit of polling and we break down each candidate briefly, and then you tell us who you thought did the best and who you think is going to advance?
I'll just so briefly, like 30,000 feet. California has a lot of problems. And I don't know how anybody, even someone who is a Democrat, could watch those debates, as I watched all of them, and not say to themselves, we really have to try to change the leadership and where we're headed right now for any of these things to move. It's like an iceberg trying to melt a little bit. Even I was like frustrated by the amount of problems, how bad they've gotten, and how you'll be able to chip away at some of these solutions. I don't think it will be, a lot of them aren't easy fixes. So,
well, let's be honest. Only 2 candidates actually try to give solutions.
Yeah, that's true.
And they're probably the 2 most. All right. So go debate. This is how the polling fell. And this is only 6 days old. And these debates are everywhere, but Steve Hilton at 16%, Steyer at 15%. This was going into the debate. Becerra at 13%. And a few days earlier, it was flipped between Steyer and Becerra. Steyer has since then gotten the socialist endorsement. It was a crappy endorsement. We don't like the billionaire, blah, 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 blah. But he sounds like he's the most socialist now. Becerra at 13%, Bianco at 10%. Now, before these debates started and up to the endorsement, it was Hilton and Bianco right around 10. Then Katie Porter at 9%, and she's what I would say is done. Mahan just, he's a pasty white dude in a party that wants color. That's his problem. And then we got Antonio Villaraigosa. He's Latino, can't catch any traction at all. He's so out of touch. He's so much older. Before we get into the candidates, this was the poll by YouGov poll. It was shown on CNN before the debate started. Any thoughts? Because Jee, you sat there and said you've already seen different polling, but your thoughts on this polling here?
No, this is the
we'll
poll that I saw before that debate, which I was a little surprised by, because I do remember Becerra being up at like 25%, and so he's dropped down significantly, and I just have to wonder if it's some of the corruption charges that are being leveled at him. So, yeah, the socialists piling behind a billionaire. I looked at my ballot, and Steyer put himself as a climate change advocate. I'm like, what? You're not putting yourself as wealthy billionaire? Okay.
Exactly. Annette,
I just
any
be
thoughts on the poll?
concerned, honestly, as someone who lives in California, for Steyer to actually pull something like this off. Can you imagine? Has anyone ever listened to some of his ideas that he wants to implement? It's
No, I didn't play them,
okay.
Annette, because we ran out of
Yeah,
time.
but
But I do want to show one more poll
okay.
here
This
real
is the
quick.
most recent
And
one.
this is the latest. That was May 4th.
Okay.
Yes, this is arguably the most recent one. Well, it's not much of a poll. Yeah, it's polling tiers. Can you guys see that?
Yeah. Oh,
So
Xavier,
Steve Hilton's at 3%. Yeah, well, but not by much. 15.9. We are going to be flooded with Tom Steyer commercials over the next 3 weeks. And then you have Chad Bianco. He's moved up. See, they're fluctuating. So what I forgot to mention is of the utmost important is these are within the margins of error. So that means it's a super close race. The only one who's pretty much, it's not even a lock because he's close to the margin of error, but at 20%, it seems like Steve Hilton is one where you can put the safe money. He will advance. Everybody else is within the margin of error from Bianco, Steyer, and Becerra. Porter's on the outlooking in, and Mahan's just dead in the water. 10 seconds, G. Thoughts on this updated polling here?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. It's the margin of error issues, and it's hard to tell who's really up and down, at least between Becerra and Steyer. But I think the rest of it is pretty consistent across the board.
All right, Annette. So a little bit different here for you. As you mentioned, you see that massive jump that Javier Becerra has made. But over the last week, since April 30th, over the last 10 days, he's flatted at about 15%, where Hilton is actually still climbing. And you see the drop from Bianco from about April 10th. So it's been about a month. You see that drop of about of over a point down to here. Porter, she just can't get any traction. Mahan slowly moving up, but this is his training wheels cycle. So he can probably use this to grow. 30 seconds. Your thoughts on this latest poll here? What's your thoughts on the Marlboro man not gaining traction there? Do you think these series of debates helped him?
I thought he really did well, so I'm surprised by this because is it because you said something the margin of error? I'm thinking to myself, possible it could end up being just a Hilton, Steve, Chad runoff, but it's no
could, but not likely.
Is it unlikely? Yeah. But I guess what's more interesting to me is that I thought Becerra had some pretty damaging allegations thrown at him. And
well, he does. It's reflected in the poll. He's
not that much.
Oh, yeah. This is from April 10th is when he ballooned up. And then April 30th, he was at 15%. He's gained almost a point since April 30th.
I see it. Yeah. Okay, got it. You're right. You're right.
So he's plateaued. So but he still, to me, it will get the why name recognition is everything in politics. And in these type of races, a lot of people vote, oh, I know that guy. He's Democrat. I'll play it safe. Boom. Becerra. Yeah, and that's who the establishment wants. That's who the unions actually want. So I think at the end of the day. All right. So when I did my review, this is how it broke down. Steve Hilton was seen as the most consistent, the most polished communicator. I thought he was bland. I thought he was boring, but he was steady, did nothing to hurt himself. He landed effective critiques, etc., etc. Javier Becerra, under relentless attack, he went to the go-to Democrat movement. Hate Trump, it's Trump's fault. That's what he stuck his guns by, which is what the establishment wants, which is what they plan on campaigning on. He didn't land any clean counters that I saw, even though my research says he did. But then again, some of this research came from Democrat outlets. But I didn't really see him land any. But he did put Antonio in his place, so I could be wrong in that sense. Katie Porter, she was pretty good, but her bar was so low, and I think "Get Out My Shop" will forever destroy Antonio Villaraigosa. He missed the first debate. He started to do better in the last year. He's just old, has been. His time is coming gone. Matt Mahan, white pasty guy, could just not get any traction. Tom Steyer, I think if anybody hurt himself with these debates, it was him. He came across as a lunatic. Moderate Democrats and independents are looking at him and going, bro, you just want to keep the status quo. I'm barely hanging on. So I think he kind of hurt himself. Chad Bianco, early on, he was like a hammer. He was like a bull in the china shop. His last two debates, I think too little, too late. Tony Thurmond, my fellow Panamanian, you just get the hell out of here, boy. You didn't belong in this debate. Thoughts on how you saw it, G, and who do you think won? I think Steve Hilton, by default, was that weak winner because he didn't hurt himself. And I think that's all I got out of this. Chad Bianco, too little, too late at the end.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's exactly right. Hilton, weak winner, but I think it's just a matter of not making mistakes. And I don't think he made any mistakes. So and a lot of these debates, it's like do no harm. That's the number one rule. So I would say Steve Hilton, but you're going to be surprised by this. I think Tom Steyer was number two, the number two person, because yeah, he did come across a little goofy or whatever, but he didn't really do himself that much harm either. And he's still polling up there, number two, maybe number three in another poll, but within the margin of error. So he's still up there, and he's a billionaire, and he wins this endorsement. So I think he's a second winner out of all this. Like, again, it's because he maybe did a little bit of harm because he's a billionaire and he's goofy.
Okay, hold on, G. Let me interject and get your comment on this interjection. April 20th at 14.5%. April 30th, 10 days later at 15%. So now he's plateaued at, 14.5%, and now he's at 14.9%. So April 30th. And since April 30th, he stayed the same. So if you're trying to say he didn't hurt himself, I can buy that. Did he improve? I don't think so. And I think he's floating at 14.9% because of $150 million. I'm not saying I'm right and you're wrong. I'm saying, how do you respond to critics who say that?
Well, no. Just think of the 2012 Republican primary. There would always be someone who like jumps up in the polls, but it was like they all wanted to go for someone other than Mitt Romney. But in the end, everyone flamed out. So in this case, I think that person who spiked up is Becerra, and I think he's starting to flame out. So I think Tom Steyer is like, okay, well, we'll just pile behind the billionaire because one, he's the only one running ads. And so he's getting a little bit of like airtime out there. And two, like, I don't think he hurt himself. So if he's polling on average about the same or a little higher, I think that just goes to my case that, okay, I think he helped himself by not hurting himself.
All right. I would rather see Steyer come in second place if it's a Hilton versus a Democrat. I think Steyer's easily defeatable. He's his own worst enemy, and he's old school. What hasn't worked? Annette, your thoughts on the overall debate? Who do you think helped themselves the best, hurt themselves the most?
I thought you gave a pretty great analysis. I disagree with one point on Steve Hilton because I think he at times can be rather charming. Is that just his British accent? I don't know.
Yes. Yes. He can't, but okay. What was memorable? Or what did he say that was memorable? One specific that was memorable over the past 4 debates. One, just one.
Uh,
My point has been proven.
yeah.
I'm not saying he's bad. I'm just saying he wasn't memorable. He had nothing. He just safe keel all the way. Come on,
I
let's be
mean,
honest. I don't need you to tell me how to be a mom. I think you might.
right. No, he did not have moments like that, but that'll be to your point and to G's point. He didn't hurt himself. Some of those moments aren't helpful. The memorable moments.
No, exactly, and that's what we're saying.
And
That's what we're
interestingly,
saying. All
to
right.
Steyer, I want to say to G, did you see the part? I'm sure you did, both of you, when Matt said, you built those detention centers, you made your money off of those detention centers. Did Tom Steyer build some prisons or detention centers? Is that how he made?
He was part of the groups that did that. He made
Mhm.
all his money in oil, and didn't say change, but he's so out there. He's more of a socialist now than anything else. The stuff he says is outlandish. The average Joe, what? California's the best place. Is he high? I
But
just
I
had to
think
quit my business and go work for the man.
what Matt was saying was he was being a hypocrite. I
Yes,
think
yes,
that was
that's what they were all
Matt
saying.
Mahan's point.
That's why he'll be easily defeated.
Oh, and so I agree.
All right,
That analysis.
10 seconds. Who advances to the general? G-Man. Actually, you can take your 30 seconds.
Yeah, no, I
but let's
think
close the show out after this.
Hilton will take it, and I think Steyer will be there too. And now Hilton,
Only two. So you're saying
yeah, and then Hilton just has to run you want to have a billionaire in office, like take the Democrat playbook. That's
Yeah,
his
that's right.
gameplay after that.
Annette.
I think it's going to be Hilton and Becerra. I think Becerra will get some traction.
Why is that?
I think. Wait, is this? I don't want to say this and sound bad. I don't like some of
Say
these
it.
accusations. Some of those accusations against him, because I feel like the state has a lot of Latinos in it, and they will maybe find him relatable, or maybe they'll trust him. And I think that could be an appeal, a factor that could factor in. I actually preferred the grandfather. I preferred him over Becerra, but I think Becerra might be able to pull it off.
Well,
You disagree?
I think it's going to. No, I'm with you. I think it's gonna be Hilton and Becerra. Becerra's got the establishment behind him, and whoever said it, we think it was Stalin, but we're not sure. It's he who counts the votes. Come election night, Steyer may be
You love
winning
to say
in the
that.
morning. Becerra will come out the winner in my book. All right, guys. Part 2 is going to be Spencer Pratt. We've got some great videos to show you. We've got to talk about the working man's Trump, is how I view him now. But until then, thank you to the beautiful Miss Annette Ross. I'm not going to call him handsome or studly because he was late. The G-Man. We hope you enjoyed the show. As always, we can't grow without you liking and sharing and following us. Follow us on Rumble under Grumblings Media, and follow us at YouTube under Grumblings Media Politics. Grumblings Media Politics. If you find us at Grumblings Media, where we have about 17,000 followers, you can find the links to the other shows at the bottom. But Grumblings Media Politics. Thank you for joining us. I am William Del Pilar. This has been Fired Up California. And until next week, stay safe and be loud. Hey, everybody, this is William Del Pilar, founder of Grumblings Media, and I want to say thank you for watching our content. If you want to support our all-volunteer efforts at Grumblings Media, smash the subscribe button right here. 100% free, and please consume and share our great content. Click either one of these two boxes for more of our work.